Hi everyone, welcome to my beginners series. I'm going to show you a little Lake District scene. So it's basically some mountains, some water and a cloudy sky and some trees in the foreground. So about halfway I'm going to draw a line, horizontal as you can get it. And then I'm going to bring in few mountains or hills like that. So this one's coming forward because it's bigger. These two are a little bit smaller in the distance. I'm also going to bring in a little bit of foreground here and a tree. So this is the main trunk, and I can just indicate a few branches. I'll do the rest when I come to paint. So this is a Saunders Waterford bit of paper. It's 5 by 7 inches and I've taped it down to a board. I have got a round number 10, a round number 6 and a rigger that I'll be using. This is a Cotman palette, which there's a link in the description if you're interested in that. And I'm just going to use the colours that I have. So you'll see me mixing, you'll see my water pot. So the first thing I'm going to do is get a sky on. So I'm going to wet with my round number 10, come all the way down to the mountains, get a lovely sheen of water on, no puddles, just a nice sheen. You can see it on there. And now I have got cerulean blue. If you had cobalt blue, that would work as well. If you had ultramarine blue, that would work. So what I'm doing is with my round number 10 is I'm dabbing in a few bits of the blue. So this is where the cloud is breaking and you are seeing a little bit of the sunshine coming through. I'm going to I need to make a grey. So I'm going to take some ultramarine blue, because this is the blue that I have, and a brown to go into that. If you had a grey, you could use a grey anyway, but my preferred is cobalt blue and burnt sienna. That's my preferred to make a grey, but this will make a grey as well. And it's what I have in this palette. I like to use what I've got. So I'm going to pick that up with a round number 6. And I'm going to push down with a circular motion. I'm going to break into the blue a little bit. And I want random clouds. If I was using a bigger sheet of paper, I'd stick with my round number 10. Because this is quite a small sheet, I'm better with a round number 6 because it puts me in more control. Push the brush down, circular motion. That helps the cloud stay where you want it to stay. The little wispier bits, you can just touch in, you don't need to push down. I'm just wisping that through. If I just take a little bit more of the ultramarine blue and the burnt umber, it's letting this settle a little bit, but then I can come back in. That's a little bit blue. Just take a bit more of the burnt umber in. I come back in and create some darker bits within these clouds. Because the sheen is going, it means you're less dilute and it should create a really nice dark effect. Now I can see that the tripod is moving quite a lot. It's because it's resting against a table, so I'm going to move that when I dry this one off. Okay, so I'll just dry that off. Okay, so that's nicely dried. Got a lovely sky there. I'm going to come into these distant mountains. So just with a little bit of water. It's very mucky water, that brush is quite dirty, but it's fine because they're going to be dark anyway. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of sap green and take a little bit of the burnt umber in so that it's more of a natural colour. Sap green tends to be quite vibrant and I need these to set back. So this is perfect for the job now. So I'm coming on, following the line of the land, getting these distant hills in. I'm going to take a little bit of the ultramarine onto the brush and just bring that down, following the line of the land. So you're getting natural patches of shadow, and then that grey, which was ultramarine blue and burnt umber, going to bring some of that in so that they start to very slightly silhouette against the sky. It's really nice to get it on that top edge. Just bring that through a little bit. You don't have to get the whole of the top edge, but some little bits just help it silhouette against the sky. And then you're just going to run some of that grey down, just following the line of the land every single time you do that type of stroke. It's got a really nice effect. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to take this little bit on here because I've got this little bit of land here. So that's the green. So very similar. Bit of ultramarine blue in and a little bit of the grey, just so I've got that forming at the bottom as well. Okay, I'll dry that one off. So that's nicely dry. I'm going to come into this mountain now. Again, still got a mucky brush, that's fine. So I've got that green. That's the sap green. I'm going to take that on without the burnt umber in. So I'm using my round number 10 to get this on, and then I'm going to swap down to my round number 6. So I can get the base on, but then I need to swap down. So I want plenty of that grey. So that was the burnt umber and the ultramarine. If you have Payne's grey, you can just use Payne grey or ivory black, that would work. Just going to come along that top edge. Following the line of the land, I'm going to stroke in a few strokes. When it's thick paint, it tends to just stay put, and that's what you want. So I've got some ultramarine on its own. Just bring a little bit of that in. And rinse my brush out. I'm just going to dip into this cadmium red. Just dot a few bits of that in as well. It's going to give a warmth, which is going to bring this hill forward in comparison to the previous hills. You could use a little bit of alizarin crimson if you haven't got cadmium red. It's just giving it just that little bit of warmth. Okay, I'll dry that one off. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to get a bit of tissue. I've got a bit of tissue here, and I've got a wet round number 10. And I'm going to sweep some water in over this section. So where the light's breaking, I want to lighten this hill. You see that? It's just lifted it off. And I've got that ray of light over that part of the hill. This is exactly what I want. Get a really nice sense of light there. Bring it right the way down to the water, in fact. There you go. We're going to come on now and do the water. So I'm going to take a little bit of water, and I want to leave a few ripples of light. So the way to do that is to not take the water on everywhere, and I'm going to use horizontal strokes with my round number 10. And this is the cerulean blue. Just keep loading your brush up with water. I'm going to leave little bits of light. Some of the colour can be stronger in places. I'm going to drop down to my number 6 again to put myself in control. Every time I drop down, it's to put myself back in control. And this is a little bit of the grey. I'm going to bring some of that through. Horizontal strokes. You're creating a surface of the water. Horizontal works best to do this. I'm going to bring them towards the front. And then I've got a little bit of that green. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of that green in to reflect the mountains towards the back. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. The water's rippling, so you won't see a huge amount there. Okay, I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so I've dried that really well, and I've got my dark colour now. I'm going to do some dry brushing. So I'm holding my brush on the side. I've loaded it up with lots of paint. This works best on a rough paper. And I'm going to just scrape the surface around where the tree is, so that I start to get some silhouetted foliage appearing. If I twizzle round, because I find it easier to paint downwards to get to a point, I can then take my rigger, which is my long thin brush, and this is a number 2 rigger, and start to paint this in. So this is a trunk. I can still see the pencil lines, but if you can't, you don't need to worry, you can just make them up. I'm tapering as it's coming up. What's quite nice is when you've done the dry brushing and then you do the trunk and branches straight away, it comes in and it blends in together, and you get naturally darker bits in places, and it works really nicely. So I'm staggering the branches coming off, getting them finer and finer. You can even take some of them further than the foliage. You do get these little bits that stick out. If you look at trees, you get some twiggy bits at the top quite often. You can overlap some branches. The more that you do trees, the better you get at it, and the more practice you do, the easier they become as well. I've got a whole series of practice on trees. So I'm twizzling round this way, just so I can make sure that I've got some nice branches. I want a variety. This is a focal point within the picture, so I'm making sure that some of these branches are a little bit thicker. The darker the better as well, because it's silhouetting. It's working really nicely. A couple the little bits at the side of the tree as well. Quite these little bits like that. I'm going to pop another. Sometimes you'll do a picture and you'll think, I don't quite like that, and it's a little bit of a gap and I'm not liking it, so I'm going to pop in another tree that fills in that gap there, stops it looking so stark. Or a little shrub. Okay, I'll dry that one off. And there we go, so we're all finished. Nice simple Lake District scene with a few techniques. You've got the lifting out, you've got the dry brushing on the tree, you've got the leaving the gaps to create the ripples in the water, and the whole sky technique with the stormy clouds and bringing those in over again. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe, share, comment, and I shall see you next time.